This thing better open.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Siri, I didn't ask for you. I guess that's why.
Sorry.
There we go. I've told several, even from up here, some stories about me with my cancer treatment there at Vanderbilt and staying there at the American Cancer Center. Several of us sat around and talked pretty much all day. There's nothing else to do. You go to your treatment, and the rest of the day you could fix you some lunch there in the kitchen or some supper, and everybody just sat around and talked. And we talked about a lot of things, but got to talk to a lot of people about the Bible. And I didn't convince anybody on anything, but when you talk to people, you can learn sometimes about the way they think and some of the positions that they have. Most of them were Baptist. And they told me this one couple over said, "Oh, they've got some kind of weird ideas." And they're a real nice couple. She was one of those that was getting bone marrow transplants. So she had to be really careful about being around people and wear a mask. Got to talk to her husband quite a bit and got to talk to her some too. I think they were Presbyterians. They were real Calvinistic, and we got to talk a lot about, they thought you was predestinated. It's really not much anything you could do. God either chose you or he didn't choose you. And I would bring up some passages and just passages that they knew. They were well read enough. They would recognize when I'd ask them, okay, why does the Bible say this? Why did Paul say that? And they would kind of look at me like, oh, poor little dumb Glenn. They never really gave me an answer, but I was trying to understand how they thought about things. And we got to talking one time. They was talking about they baptized babies. And their explanation, I said, well, now, how do you come up with that? Why are you doing that? Of course, they give the example of the households, that the whole household was baptized. I said, well, that don't necessarily mean anything. But their idea was, baptism really doesn't do anything. It just shows that you're a part of the group. It really doesn't do anything. It's a sign. Like circumcision was a sign to the Jews. And so since being circumcised made you a Jew, then this is just a sign of you being a Christian. And since the circumcision was done on a baby on the 8th day, they baptized on the 8th day. I didn't know they thought that. That is really a thin transfer from one idea to the other. They've kind of created a false dilemma there because one's not necessarily true for the other. You feel kind of sorry for them. But they had all this reasoning in their own minds, and they had studied a lot. But no matter how much they studied, they were still wrong. Colossians 2:8 says, "See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elementary spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. For in him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily. And if you've been filled in him, who is the head of all rule and authority, in him also you were circumcised with a circumcision not made with hands, by putting off the body of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, having been buried with him in baptism, which you were also raised with him through faith in the powerful working of God, who raised him from the dead. And you, who were dead in your trespasses and in the uncircumcision of your heart, of your flesh, God made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses." Yeah, it talks here about circumcision, but it's talking about the fact that today we get rid of that old body. We are buried in baptism. We've cut off that old person, and we become a new person. Ananias told Paul, read this in Old King James, you all know it. "And why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord." Well, we don't speak in that kind of language anymore. I'm going to re-say it a little bit how we talk today. Why are you waiting? Come up here and be baptized and wash away your sins. Calling on the name of the Lord. That phrase, calling on, I can't say it's epeklomi. One of the definitions, and I'm not going to say that's the only thing of calling on the name of the Lord, but one of these definitions, according to Thayer, is to put a name upon, to surname, to permit oneself to be surnamed, to be named after someone. Christian, don't put it off. If you know what you need to do, come before it's too late. Wash away your sins. Become that Christian. Change that name. Change it from sinner to Christian. If there's anything we can do for you, please come forward as we stand and as we sing.